Hello, welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. Smash the like button if you love me. Subscribe if you're new. Please have your say. A very warm welcome to Wednesday's edition of the DC Universe Daily. Yes, finally, the review embargo for the Flash movie is up. All the reviews are out and we have a Rotten Tomatoes score. So there's been around 50 plus reviews thus far on Rotten Tomatoes. And as far as I can tell, and things may have changed since I last went to the Rotten Tomatoes site, it's got a fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes, the Flash movie, of 73%. It keeps on going from 72 to 73. So when the general audience go on Rotten Tomatoes, all they're going to see is it's got a fresh score. We don't know how it's going to finish at because I think there'll be altogether around 116, 120, quite a few more reviews to go. But, you know, it looks like The Flash will be verified fresh by Rotten Tomatoes at some point. This is the first DC Extended Universe movie, the first DCEU movie to be verified fresh in a very long time. I think the last DC Extended Universe movie to be verified fresh was indeed Birds of Prey. Now that's not a very good barometer. I think Birds of Prey did some things good and some things bad, but that was the last time a film had, from the DC Extended Universe, had a verified fresh score. So I have an article here from Screen Rant, and it's got a few reviews in here, like not the full reviews, but bullet points, because I thought it'd be nice if you don't just hear my opinion. I've been reporting on the Flash movie since the day it was announced. We were doing loads of lives. It was a very exciting time. Andy Muschietti and his sister Barbara had a lot of exciting things to say. In fact, I was very, very excited at first for this movie. Then I realised what they were doing within the movie, which was basically replacing Superman with Supergirl. And then I started getting a bit negative and my excitement levels went down because originally I was so excited. We're making everything in DC canon in this film. It changes everything. We're starting again. Now, to a lot of Snyder fans, that would have been upsetting. I am partially a Snyder fan, but really I'm an all-round DC fan. So part of me was sad and part of me was excited. But the more things I was hearing about the movie and the future of the DCEU, I started getting very, very suspicious in what direction we were going. Then I saw a test screening. Ages ago, one of the first test screenings, I pretty much liked what I saw. Like, you know, most test audiences did. I didn't see the best DC CBM ever made in general, but I did see a really entertaining movie. And I've tried to give you my genuinely honest opinions on the movie. Because the movie is one thing, and I think the toxic intentions of what the movie was attempting to do is another. Then there's another situation, Ezra Miller, that really confused the issue. And I think we got to separate the film from Ezra Miller. We've got to separate the actual film from the studio's intentions of the film and be fair to the film that is a very entertaining film. And I think ultimately, isn't that all that matters? We know the entertainment industry is utterly toxic anyway. So I'm going to pre-warn you, my tablet is very temperamental. So I may not be able to scroll upwards. It may not work, but let's attempt to do this. So, the Flash reviews are finally in. Does it live up to the hype? After various delays, The Flash is finally arriving in theatres on June the 16th, but will it be worth the wait? Here's what the first reviews are saying. This is by Adrienne Tyler. After a long wait due to various delays, Andy Muschietti's The Flash is finally arriving in theatres on June the 16th, and the first reviews are now out. And here's what critics are saying about Barry Allen's biggest adventure to date. While the DC Universe prepares to launch the DCEU, still has some projects waiting to be released, and the most anticipated one is The Flash. Originally scheduled for a 2018 release, The Flash came across a variety of obstacles that kept delaying its release, and once the COVID-19 pandemic calmed down, The Flash was given a definitive June 2020, 2023 release. Inspired by the popular comic book storyline Flashpoint, The Flash will see Barry Allen, Ezra Miller, using his powers to travel back in time, hopes of preventing his mother's murder. But messing with time can have dangerous consequences across the multiverse. As a result, Barry becomes trapped in an alternate reality without metahumans and with the help of his younger self, an alternate and older Batman, Michael Keaton, and Kryptonian castaway Supergirl, Sasha Calle. He will do his best to save this world from the restored General Zod, Michael Shannon, and hopefully return to his universe. The Flash is one of the most anticipated movies of the year, but will it be worth the wait? Here's what critics are saying. Unfortunately for The Flash, and based on different reviews, it doesn't seem to live up to the hype. But that doesn't mean there are no good things to say about it. The Flash became one of the most exciting and anticipated projects from the DCEU. Almost immediately, it was confirmed to happen, and when Flashpoint was confirmed as the main source of inspiration, but fans of Flashpoint comic book storyline will most likely be very disappointed. Now, this is something I pre-warned you about ages ago. When watching The Flash, although it does take many elements from Flashpoint, The Flash fails to replicate what made the comic book arc so great. But that was never their intentions anyway. They just wanted to use Flashpoint to change the timeline. Though in terms of the action sequences it does deliver what it teased in trailers and more, most reviews so far agree that The Flash starts strong with Barry Allen on a rescue mission that will surely satisfy those looking for exciting action sequences with the sense of humour that makes Flash such a popular character. But as the story progresses and both the audience and Barry get more and more involved in time travel and the multiverse, The Flash slows down and even seems to get stuck at times. Surely one of the most appealing aspects of The Flash are its cameos and the return of the past DC superheroes, mainly Ben Affleck's DCEU Batman and Michael Keaton's Batman from Tim Burton's movies. And in that aspect, The Flash certainly lives up to the hype. But in general, it all points at The Flash suffering from the over-exaggerated excitement that resulted from the many delays and the well-done trailers to market the film. Here's what some critics are saying about The Flash. Hang on a minute, let's get my screensaver back. That's it. Ultimately, The Flash wants to have its cake and eat it too, and have a second cake and eat that as well. There are so many cool ideas in The Flash, from the two versions of Barry Allen and tackling the multiverse via Flashpoint to the return of Keaton's Batman and the introduction of Supergirl, but the movie fails to fully deliver on any of them. As a result, The Flash is by no means a must-watch superhero movie, even for fans of the Flash character or the Flashpoint storyline. That's from Screen Rant, who didn't like the film. This is from Collider, who are normally more of a S.H.I.E.L.D. source. The Flash clearly wants its audience to get caught up in the excitement of the multiverse adventures, returning superhero favourites, and fun antics of Barry Allen, to the point that they never consider that the time travel aspects make absolutely no sense and only hurts the larger story in the way that it's handled here. Thankfully, those antics are enjoyable and hard not to get excited about, but unfortunately this isn't a story that holds together on a narrative level. Cameos and fan service are fine to have, but the story has to be there to back them up, and it's not quite there with The Flash. Well, I called them a S.H.I.E.L.D. source. They normally do S.H.I.E.L.D. Disney. They haven't been as equally as shilling to WB in the past, to be fair. Variety. The thing is, none of it makes a lot of sense in The Flash. The multiverse of possibilities that opens up by toying with the past becomes an excuse to throw everything but the Batcave sink at the audience. Despite the vividness of Ezra Miller, the movie steamrolls Miller's personality as it goes along. The climactic battle against General Zod with its kamikaze backplane death zooms, its plumes of black smoke rising from the ground, its overblown sound and fury is working too hard to engulf as after a story that did a nifty job of beguiling us. And so Variety didn't like it too much. The AV Club. For all its focus on fun and adventure and its ability to sweep us away in a lightning storm of spectacle, The Flash ultimately runs too hard to achieve any real sense of narrative grace, and the result is a film that feels overstuffed, uneven, and a little frustrating. THR. If The Flash ultimately proves uneven, hang on a minute, let's go back down. Told you it's temperamental. If The Flash ultimately proves uneven, its wobbly climactic showdown far less interesting than the more character-driven build-up, the story's core of a young man struggling to reconcile with the loss of his mother carries it through. The early word on The Flash calling it one of the greatest superhero movies ever made was purely hyperbole. But in the bumpy recent history of the DC Extended Universe, it's certainly an above-average entry. So you can see a theme, a consistent theme running here. I'll give you my opinion shortly. And yeah, it's a very, very, right, here we are. No, here we are. Multiverses are the biggest theme in the superhero genre at the moment, with the Marvel Cinematic Universe exploring it in different movies and TV shows, most notably in Spider-Man No Way Home. And while the DC Universe is no stranger to this concept, it hasn't mastered the multiverse yet. The Flash could have benefited from its many characters, but instead their presence seems to have backfired. Critics have pointed out that there are moments throughout The Flash where too much is happening and there are characters all over the place. Two Barry Allens, Michael Keaton's Batman, Sasha Calle's Supergirl, and Michael Shannon's General Zod, too many characters in The Flash led to undeveloped characters that should have had a bigger role, as well as their presence being a distraction from what actually works in the movie, such as when it focuses on Barry Allen and his personal struggles. So, yes, there is a theme here. I'm trying to scroll up and this temperamental tablet is not letting me do so. But do bear with me, I may have to press pause. See you in a minute. Hello again. Let's see if we can continue. One of the biggest risks of telling a multiversal story, and on top of that using time travel, is that the story can reach a point where nothing makes sense, and unfortunately this happened to The Flash. To some critics, the multiverse was used as an excuse to throw a bunch of possibilities into the mix, and the specifics of time travel don't make sense either. I always find it amusing when they criticize how some storytellers use time travel, because ultimately time travel, as far as we know, isn't fucking possible. So how can, time travel doesn't make sense anyway when you examine it. I'm not a fucking physicist, I'm not a fucking scientist. I don't know if you can time travel or not. I wish we could, it would be fun, right? So criticizing the way a fictional piece of work does it is a bit nonsensical to me. So anyway, to throw a bunch of possibilities into the mix, and the specifics of time travel don't make sense either. The Flash seems to be better enjoyed paying attention to the details. The Flash seems to be better enjoyed without paying attention to the details of time travel and how the multiverse works. But then again, these themes are at the core of the film and they're impossible to ignore and question. I would never question how someone executes the idea of time travel because I don't understand time travel anyway. It's a damn crappy piece of critical media, if you ask me. The Flash not only has too many characters, but it also relies a lot on nostalgia. Nothing wrong with that. Also, for a bunch of characters, prior to The Flash's release, the return of Keaton's Batman, Affleck's version, and Shannon's Zod were confirmed, with Muschietti later confirming a cameo from Nicolas Cage as Superman. These are not the only cameos in The Flash, which according to critics is packed with nostalgia thanks to the presence of old and modern DC characters. But that's not all. The Flash is also heavy on pop culture references, especially when Barry realizes that his actions in the past completely changed his present. And while all these cameos and references can be fun, The Flash ended up using one too many. There are a lot of cameos in this movie. And I think cameos became a very, very peak kind of trend under, Feige and Marvel Studios. Maybe this film did throw too many in them. But in terms of Sasha Calle's Supergirl and Keaton's, Keaton's Batman and, Batfleck and all of them, that's not too many. Like the central cameos, right? Not the quick ones, but the central cameos. There's just a few there. You can still service your lead character, which I think they did well. I wouldn't have had two Ezra Millers in the film. I would have had Grant and Ezra playing off of each other in the entire movie. That makes more sense. Or the original Ray Fisher idea, where it was going to be a buddy-buddy cyborg Flash movie, was an even better idea. Again, I must apologise for the constant pausing, but as I said earlier, very temperamental tablet. Let's continue. Ezra Miller's performance is being praised, but it's also controversial. One of the most praised aspects of The Flash is also one of the most controversial ones. Ezra Miller, while Miller had previously appeared as Flash in past DCEU movies, The Flash is their first solo movie as the title hero, which was exciting. Where are we? Yeah, which was exciting at first, but Miller's various legal issues behind the scenes completely changed the... Where are we? Yeah. See, this tablet's useless. Let's stop. Right. So Miller's various legal issues behind the scenes completely changed the audience's response. Miller's controversies and how Warner Brothers chose to handle them cast a big shadow over The Flash, which at one point was believed to not be released at all. And for many of Miller's problems will definitely affect the way they see and receive their performance as Barry Allen. Although most critics are praising their performance as more than one Barry Allen, pointing out their charisma and ability to bring comedy and drama, certain scenes clash with their off-screen actions in a way that for many viewers it will be difficult to watch. Yet, I think certainly the younger Barry kind of reminds me of real Ezra Miller, and like our Barry from the DCEU is the one you prefer. So the actor, I nearly said the guy, I'm not allowed to call him a guy, the they, them, Ezra Miller plays these two different characters so differently with variety. It's so good, but one of them's annoying and one of them's not. One of them feels like, textbook Ezra Miller, and the other one feels like the Barry Allen we've been watching in the Snyder Cut, and in the other cameos. So that's what critics are saying about the Flash movie. But how will that translate to box office? Well, that's the intriguing aspect and element of this film. We are now in the position with the soft projections that we don't really have a clue how this movie's going to perform, because nobody really agrees with the projections. The projections are so low and everyone's surprised at kind of how soft the domestic opening projections for The Flash are. What made it worse, and I think some of you have been confused about the long-range projections. So the original long-range projections, which means projections that where nobody's got any data for, they were for around 115 to 140 million domestic opening, right? Which was great, which was better than 70 million. I mean, 140 million, that's better than Guardians of the Galaxy. That's better than Across the Spider-Verse. 140 million opening. If the Flash movie was to get that, that would be amazing. And nobody, the haters, nobody could say any different. But then we got the actual short-range projections, the projections where they did have data for. Basically the projections come directly from Warner Brothers, and they're saying it's going to open up domestically to a soft 70 million. But as I said yesterday, and I know I've been accused by certain people of being a flip-flop and having, having conspiracy theories, Look, there's some people in life who want to protect trillion-dollar studios. I want to be, I want to be direct and straight with you, working class people who spend your hard working money on going to see these movies. Now, if you want to defend trillion-dollar companies, that's entirely up to you. Oh, and by the way, on the accusation of me being a flip-flop, what happens in life, you come in with a certain opinion and then you get updated with new information, and instead of being a twat and being stubborn and saying, I was right, I'm always right, I'm right, you take the additional information, you say, right guys, I was wrong here. It's fine. It's okay to be wrong. I've been wrong on loads of occasions and I've been right on equally the same amount of occasions. If you've been following me since July of 2018, you know that, right? And I'm also a guy who will tell you when I think I'm wrong. So if I say something about something passionately, but then there's new factual information, I say, right guys, I was wrong, hands up, and that's okay. Now, if that makes me a flip-flop, then I'm a flip-flop. At least I'm not a stubborn twat who can't admit when they're wrong. Thank you very much. So, yes, it is kind of an interesting situation when you look at the Flash's box office. So, I mean, I'm sitting here right now, and I don't know how those reviews are going to translate to box office, because the reviews I read to you from Screen Rant, and these are reviews collated from Screen Rant, not me. I didn't even know the type of reviews we were going to see. Now, like Deadline, For the Board gave the Flash movie a really good review, but most of these reviews really didn't like the movie. They liked elements of the movie. They liked the emotional elements of, what Barry Allen's going through. They liked Ezra Miller's performance, because even if you despise Ezra Miller for their behavior in real life, you can't say the person doesn't perform their hell out of this script. Ezra Miller isn't a movie lead. We know that. That's why Keaton is in this movie. And I think if Keaton wasn't in this movie, I think this movie would actually flop. I think that's why Keaton is in this movie, to hold up this movie, which is a very strange thing to do. Because if you're unhappy with someone who's coming in as the Flash and you don't think they can lead their own movie, why would you cast them in the first place? But even worse, why don't you recast them if you have no faith in them? It was a great opportunity with everything going on with him, but by the time they realised what was going on with, I said him, didn't I? I can't keep up with it, it's difficult, right? But, by the time they realised what a nut job Ezra Miller was, they were too deep in the Flash with him, and they had to go with him. But basically, I think I think personally, the film is entertaining without being magnificent. But there's some people who are going to see the effects and hear the music and hear the bashing and the crashing and love it and say this is the greatest DC movie ever. And that's great. Ultimately, it doesn't matter what the critics are saying. It doesn't matter what I'm saying. What I'm saying only matters to me. But I am trying to give you my honest opinion about the movie. This is why I scoffed when they said this is the best CBM ever. I was stunned when Tom Cruise came out and spoke about it in such glowing terms, like it was one of the best things ever made. Or then Stephen King came out. But there's only one reason why you have people like Tom Cruise and Stephen King come out. Why you have a multitude of advanced fan screenings on, the amount of I've never seen in movie history before. Because you want to force feed, you want to create an artificial kind of good word of mouth. And, I've got to give credit to Walter Hamada, not Walter Hamada, no, let me start again. I've got to give credit to David Zaslav and his people. They have created a false environment of positivity for this film. And this could really help this film make a lot more than it ever did deserve to make. So, it could actually open up at 70 million, which would be soft, as we've already discussed. Or I think it could jump up to 100 million. As I said yesterday, they can go, oh my God, what a shock. You know, it's higher than projections. Oh my God, what a success story. That's probably why they're projecting it so low, so they can use that tactic. I do apologise. It's my conspiracy theory again. This is what I do. I do analysis. I have thoughts. I have emotions. I have opinions. I do have theories. I've always been that way. There's plenty of shield sites for you if I don't make you happy though. There's John Campea. There's Collider. There's shield. There's shit out of movies and new Hollywood creative bankruptcy, but not me. Shall I tell you why? I grew up a very lonely little boy, and my only friend was a broken down, cracked television. That television was my portal to another world. I desperately needed that portal to another world. I was scared to get up in the morning. I was scared to go to school because they were going to bully me, right? I had to go to special lessons because of my dyslexia and my learning difficulties. All I had was my portal to another world. And those movies and TV shows I was growing up with basically gave me an experience. So when I don't get an experience, or when I know it's the intentions of the filmmakers or, you know, TV show showrunners, and it's their intentions not to give me an experience and to cheat me out of my money, cheat me out of my viewership, or try and tell me I'm a bad person because I've got a dangly bit going down my fucking boxes. In my case, it's a very big dangly bit, but you get my fucking, you get what I mean, right? I find that insulting. So when you hear me being negative about stuff, and I used to be a very different DC fan. I used to be, when I first started in July 2018, I would bite anyone's head off who said anything negative about DC. If you've been with me since the very beginning, you know that. But us DC fans have had to take so much fucking shit. I can't shield these people anymore. I can't defend these people anymore. I'm worn out. I'm tired at the damage that has been done to DC and its reputation by this fucking studio. We had the Snyderverse. Some of us were invested in that. It was taken away from us. Then we were given Justice League. Fucking embarrassing for any DC fan. Then I enjoyed Aquaman. You know, Shazam was solid. The rest was shit, right? Apart from the Suicide Squad, which I quite enjoyed, and it's a well-made movie. To be honest, again, whether you like James or not, it's a very, very good movie. But, you know, when we look at outside of the DC Extended Universe, they get it right. The Joker is an utterly compelling piece of modern-day movie making, as is Matt Reeves' The Batman. And I'll stand by this wall until I'm proven wrong. As you know, I admit when I'm wrong. I believe the Batman 2 and the Joker 2 will make quadruple the amount of the Flash movie and will have much better reviews. Because they're old-fashioned made movies because they want to give you a fucking experience. The Batman gave us an experience, right? I'm crying like a little boy at the end of the movie when Batman jumps down and he's on the level, the service level of the grunts and the everyday Gotham people. It's a beautiful moment. The Joker movie is full of great commentary on mental illness and this brilliant character. And this is what the DCEU has lacked since they drove Snyder out of that franchise and tried to recycle it into something else. The Flash movie is an attempt to recycle the DC Extended Universe into something else. Basically, it was the original intentions of Hamada to turn the DC Cinematic Universe into the DC HBO Max universe. That was his intentions. That's why Blue Beetle and Batgirl were going to be exclusive HBO Max movies. At the time, they didn't have any real plans for anything cinematically being released apart from, you know, the movies they had left that they'd already made. I don't think they had big plans for cinema. I think because Jason Kilar, had big plans for HBO Max and to take cinema into HBO Max. And this is why Christopher Nolan went mad at him during the COVID pandemic. And so this is what they were planning. But if we put all of that to one side, ultimately all you and me can do is judge the film on its merits. You're going to enjoy this film. I think unless you're looking to hate this film, you will go and have a good experience with this film. Whether you're going to keep on coming back to watch it again and again and again, that's something for you to make your mind up. Finally today, I want to just quickly squeeze in there that I have found out kind of what Lord and Miller wanted to do with their Flash movie, and it was a time travel adventure, but it was more kind of Back to the Future 1 rather than a multiversal Back to the Future 2, if you like. So they weren't really going into the multiverse. It was more of a time, an easy Back to the Future 1 type of adventure. Look, I think we lost something. Really, as I said yesterday with Lord and Miller, we would have had something really special to look into. But anyway, moving away from Lord and Miller, finally, I want to talk about this mysterious ending. I now know, because people have actually seen the proper final theatrical cut of the movie. Some people who have seen it said the CGI is still very ropey. That's disappointing to hear. But I've heard people criticise CGI, and I've gone and seen the movie, and I think it's great. Some people say the MOS CGI and the BVS CGI is shit. It is not. Some people say Doomsday is shit CGI. He's outstanding CGI. Some say Darkseid is shit CGI. He's outstanding CGI. So basically, it's just people who are hating for the sake of hating. So I do now know the ending, the official ending of the Flash movie. There is one post-credits scene. I thought there'd be two, but there's one. I do know what that is. Basically, I think it's for the best at this moment in time that I don't be an arse and tell you that ending. I could do my platform A World of Good and reveal that ending, do a video and say, ooh, yes, here's the ending. No. Please go and see the movie. I'm going to do a special live spoiler review of the Flash movie. At the end of the day, we may disagree about things, and it's okay to disagree, but I promise you, I will always give you my honest opinions. Now, you may not like those honest, genuine opinions, but they're my opinions. What I want you to do is be informed. It's the most important thing. And that's why I want you to go and see this movie. Not because I'm shilling WB or DC, because I want you to be informed. I want you to go and see this film, and when you've all seen it, and I think, what should we say, 2 weeks after release, we'll start talking spoilers, right? Maybe before, it depends how impatient I get. But what we're going to do, a week to 10 days to 14 days after the release of the Flash movie, I'm going to do a special live spoiler review. Now, what I want to see from you, if you follow me on Twitter, just at me at MoviesTVMad, let me know this. Or you can let me know here in the comments as well. I'll check my comments. I want to know, I want you to research UK time, because that's what I'm basing when I'm going to go live when we eventually do this. So I'm in Cyprus. I'm 2 hours ahead of the UK. I don't understand. A lot of you are from America. You're from the Baltics. You're from here. You're from there. So you can't expect me. So you're all going to want different times. So what I want you to do is go look at a time that it is in the UK. Work out what time it is where you are, and let me know what time in UK time is the best time for you for us to do this live, extended 2-hour spoiler review of The Flash. So what I will do, I will look at the most popular time in the UK, and I will take that and I will launch live and we'll talk about this movie. Smash the like button if you really, really want me to do a live spoiler review of the Flash movie. We will leave no stone unturned. We'll talk about your issues with the movie, what you loved, what you hated. We're really going to delve deep. This has been Wednesday's edition of the DC Universe Daily with me, Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wife. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. Smash the like button if you love me. Subscribe if you're new. Please have your say. Until I see you again, goodbye. Au revoir. Auf Wiedersehen.